Saluton from BA. This is the Rorshok Multilateral update from the 28th of May 2024. A quick summary of what's going down in the world's major multilateral institutions. On Tuesday the 21st, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, issued a warning to the British government. It said that Britain is likely to miss its debt target and advised against cutting taxes before the election later this year, suggesting that tax increases may be necessary in the future. It criticized some of the Prime Minister's policies, particularly the recent tax cuts, by lowering social security contributions. The upcoming British election is on the 4th of July and will determine whether the government led by Rishi Sunak will stay in power. Moving on to Eastern Europe, on Saturday the 25th, Jens Stoltenberg, NATO's head, stated that the US shouldn't prevent Ukraine from using American weapons to target sites within Russia's territory. President Joe Biden has made clear in the past that he opposes Ukrainian strikes within Russia, fearing that the use of American weapons on Russia's soil could provoke a larger war. Ukraine's government has had to rely on domestically produced drones for operations on Russian territory. American involvement in Ukraine is a particularly timely issue, as the upcoming presidential election in the United States could mean a continuation of Biden's Ukraine aid policy or a suspension if Trump is elected. Moving on to the Balkans, on Thursday the 23rd, the UN approved a resolution to establish the 11th of July as the International Day of Reflection and Commemoration of the 1995 genocide in Srebrenica, an annual day to remember the 1995 genocide of over 8,000 Bosnian Muslims in a war with Serbia. Serbia strongly opposed this resolution because even though it doesn't mention Serbians being the perpetrators, it still created controversy in a region with deep-rooted ethnic tensions. Different ethnic groups in the Balkans broke out into conflict in the 1990s, including some within different countries. Part of the war involved a bloody genocide of Bosnians by ethnic Serbians living in Bosnia. Even though decades have passed since the initial violence, which was suppressed in part due to NATO's military intervention in Serbia, these ethnic groups still sometimes clash. Want to know more? Head over to the Rorshok Serbia update with the link in the show notes. There is more on the UN. Multiple UN agencies, including the International Organization for Migration, UN Women, and the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, predict a 25% surge in child marriages among Afghan girls due to Taliban restrictions. According to a joint brief by many UN agencies, Afghan women continue to advocate for their right to lead life of dignity. After the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, the Taliban quickly took over the country and imposed restrictions on women and girls. Let's go to South America as Colombia begins to explore a 300-year-old shipwreck off its coast on Wednesday the 22nd. However, the search has turned into a legal battle. The Permanent Court of Arbitration is now at the center of the dispute between Colombia and the US-based marine salvaging company Sea Search Armada. Both Colombia and the company say that they have rights on the artifacts found on the Spanish warship. The company argues that it was them who discovered the shipwreck, while Colombia says that it's in its territory. The role of the Permanent Court of Arbitration will be crucial as the dispute is valued at $10 billion. Also concerning South American countries, on Friday the 24th, the International Court of Justice ruled that Ecuador didn't have to protect Mexico's embassy, following a raid on Mexico's embassy in Ecuador's capital last month. Mexico initiated the complaint at the United Nations top court in response to Ecuadorian police storming the embassy compound to arrest former Vice President Jorge Glass. President Glass fled Ecuador after being charged with crimes related to abusing his power. Illegally entering a country's embassy violates that nation's sovereignty and goes against diplomatic norms. In the U.S. Congress on Friday the 24th, Congressman Frank Pallone Jr. launched an investigation into potential price manipulation in the oil industry. This move comes in the wake of recent revelations that the former CEO of the Pioneer Natural Resources Company allegedly tried to coordinate oil production levels with the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, and competitors to drive up gas prices. In light of these findings, Pallone sent a letter to several fossil fuel companies demanding their documents and communications. alone seeks to determine whether oil producers and OPEC are collaborating to increase gas prices. Members of Congress in the United States generally look after the interests of their constituents, so it is not usual for a single member to target specific companies or industries. On the same day, the Inter-American Development Bank launched a new global platform called the FICS Lab, designed to aid public development banks in expanding climate finance. It will offer technical assistance, grants, and promote innovation, knowledge sharing, and collaboration among public development banks. In other news, Ebrahim Patel, the South African Trade Minister, announced on Wednesday the 22nd that his country may file a formal grievance at the World Trade Organization, or WTO, against a UN carbon border tax. The EU proposed tax would levy charges on imports of carbon-reliant goods like steel and cement. In October, the EU initiated a trial phase of the tax. A spokesperson for the European Commission affirmed that the EU created the border tax to align with WTO regulations and would allow price deductions in certain circumstances. South Africa opposed the change due to fears that the tax would hurt its industry. In Asia, Anwar Ibrahim, the Malaysian Prime Minister, urged the Association of Southwest Asian Nations, or ASEAN, on Thursday the 23rd, to prioritize unity among members. While speaking at the Future of Asia Summit in Tokyo, Ibrahim stressed the need for ASEAN to adopt a more assertive and vibrant strategy, as regional disputes, especially the territorial conflict over the South China Sea, are becoming more dangerous for surrounding countries. China's economic growth strategy and military aggression toward vessels of multiple countries in the South China Sea have threatened the safety and economic security of several ASEAN members. In some positive news, the UN's Operation Saving Africa Wildlife Through Multilateral Assistance, or SAMA, achieved a significant milestone in combating wildlife trafficking in Africa. The groundbreaking operation resulted in the seizure of over 100 endangered species products across 19 countries. It marked the first Africa-focused endeavor on wildlife trafficking coordinated entirely by authorities within the continent. The initiative witnessed the involvement of 35 countries, highlighting collaborative efforts. Because of the success of the initial phase, all stakeholders have committed to extending the initiative with Operation SAMA 2. Finally, on Saturday the 26th, the newly elected Speaker of the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, vowed to implement a code of ethics for the organization's parliament. The speaker emphasized the need for smarter and more organized deliberation and for people governed by ECOWAS countries to be proud of their collective governance. ECOWAS is a political and economic organization meant to foster collaboration on regional issues among the member states. It often collaborates with the African Union on common regional challenges and has helped bring together nations that have faced recent hardships. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Good question, listeners. Do you ever go to libraries? If you do, we'd love to talk to you about them. Rorshok's Ourzines project is interested in libraries. Let us know what you think at info@rorshok.com and read more about Ourzines on our website. You can find the link in the show notes. Thanks! See you next week!